Look, the cringy intros are harder to make than you think. That's the best I could do in such short notice. Let's talk about some Superman news now. DC fans, it is time to start getting excited for the newly rebooted James Gunn universe that we are set to get in the near future. What I'm going to talk about here today, guys, is we have an official article letting us know who are the top contenders to play some of the iconic roles in Superman Legacy. That includes Superman, Lex Luthor, Lois Lane, and even a hint to other DC characters appearing in this movie. I'm going to be breaking down all that information here for you guys, but I really want to hear from your opinion. You're hearing some of these names and faces and you're like, could you see them as Clark Kent? Could you see them as Lex? Or you're like, James Gunn, stop what you're doing. This ain't it. Who let him cook? Yeah, see, I'm hip and young. I know the lingo. Okay, so diving into it here, I think after watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and that being top-tier Marvel, we are all looking a little bit more positively to what James Gunn can bring to the DC Universe. I still have some hesitations and reservations with his universe because I'm still not fully sure. This a half reboot, a whole reboot? What's going on here? It was also noted in a different interview, he did confirm Superman Legacy is going to start filming in January of 2024. So you can pretty much bet before the end of this year, we're finding out officially who Superman is, Lois Lane, all those characters. So now jumping into this Hollywood Reporter article here, which again is official credible sources. These aren't scoopers online like all the wild fantastic forecasting rumors we've been hearing for weeks. We even have James Gunn's opinion on this article here, which I will read to you guys. But here in the article titled Searching for Superman Inside the Quest to Cast DC's New Top Heroes. In the article, they kind of run down the top contenders who are currently auditioning for the role, some that are even about to get screen tested. In superhero terms, when you get screen tested, you put on one of the previous suits to do your audition. Like when Robert Pattinson was auditioning to be Batman for Matt Reeves, he had to put on the George Clooney bat suit to see how he would look as Batman. Get that level of disrespect out of your mind. They fire Henry Cavill, and now the next actor is about to put on his Superman suit? Oh! But the first runner-up that they mentioned here that is actually the top contender who is about to go through the screen test is David Cornsweet. Pulling up a picture of this actor right here. Come on. Tell me you do not see this boy as the new Superman. He's got the face, the jawline. This right here screams Superman to me. Definitely have gotten the look nailed down. As far as like what I think of his acting abilities, I thought I hadn't seen this actor in anything. Then when I went on his IMDb page, he was in Pearl. And I was like, oh, he was the handsome guy trying to rizz up Pearl. Yeah, he was actually fine in that role. So I'm sure he's got the acting ability to pull off Superman. He's actually also been someone that a lot of people have been fan casting and wanting in the role. So it's kind of cool that some fan choices have made it. But some other contenders here that were mentioned in the article is one, Jacob Elordi, who you might know from Euphoria. Turns out he was being seriously considered to play Superman, but the guy never sent an audition tape. Seems like maybe he just wasn't interested in the role. There is a British actor named Tom Brittney also being considered. Yeah, he's got kind of a face I could see as Superman. One I don't see as much, Andrew Richardson. That's one of the choices in there, but doesn't scream Superman right away. Still, it comes down to the acting. I remember when Andrew Garfield was first announced to be the new Spider-Man, I looked at him and thought, I don't see him as Peter Parker, but turned out to be one of my favorites. One out of nowhere one that is getting a lot of conflicting reports is Nicholas Hoult, which is funny because he was the runner-up to play Batman in the Matt Reeves movie if Robert Pattinson passed on it. And the conflicting part about his report is the Hollywood Reporter mentions that he's up to play Lex Luthor, but then a different journalist who works for Variety said he's actually up to play Superman. So it could really be an either-or situation, and this is kind of common in Hollywood. We've had actors that try out for the lead role and end up becoming the villain. Like for one, Cillian Murphy auditioned to play Batman in the Christopher Nolan movies. He didn't get the role of Batman, but he was so good they casted him as Scarecrow. Tom Hiddleston auditioned to play Thor in the Marvel movies. He didn't get it, but he was so good they casted him as Loki. So I think it could be very possible that Nicholas Hoult auditioned for Superman, probably nailed it, but James Gunn thought, you might be better as somebody else, Lex Luthor. And you know what? I would definitely agree with that. I feel he could be a fascinating, fresh new take on Lex Luthor. And I'm not talking about fresh new take in the way Jesse Eisenberg was Lex Luthor. I remember hating that choice when it was announced, but I was open to it. I was willing to give it a shot. And seeing that boy stick Jolly Ranchers in people's mouths, and I was like, Yeah, no, I'm happy if you like that version of Lex Luthor, but that wasn't one I enjoyed. But I feel Nicholas Hoult does have that ability to pull off kind of like an intimidating businessman with ambitions to later like run for president, which is something Lex Luthor has eventually done. If he honestly got cast as Superman, that's where I'd be like, really? Him as Superman? Like, Batman, sure, I could have seen that happen, but Superman? I don't know. Now, of course, while a lot of these cast members were starting to make the rounds online, people were like, let's wait to see what James Gunn says. Man is always on Twitter, and he loves to tell people whether they're right or wrong about some of the news going on. So we're like, James Gunn is going to comment any second, debunk you guys, and make you look so dumb. And this is what James Gunn had to say. He said, for all of you asking, I would never comment on who is or isn't auditioning for a role. That's the actor's business only, and isn't something I'd make public unless they did it first after the fact, like Glenn Howerton or Zachary Levi having auditioned for Star-Lord and being top choices. For now, only one person has been cast in Superman Legacy, and it isn't any of the regular players in the Superman world. To me, that is essentially him saying, look, that article by actual credible journalists, yeah, some of those names are actually people I'm considering to be in my movie, but I'm not going to tell you who my top choices are right now, if anyone's getting cast. In fact, no one has gotten cast. He says there's only one person cast right now in his film, and it isn't one of the iconic characters, which could end up being his wife or his brother. That's who I'm mainly thinking, and I don't have a problem with James Gunn hiring family and friends. I would hope if I have a family or friend out there, they'd put me in a movie, but that's become a controversy online, even though there's other directors and actors out there that love hiring their friends and family. And the other part here, he mentions that like when Star-Lord was getting cast back in the Guardians of the Galaxy days, two names that were like right up there, almost going to get the role, Zachary Levi and Glenn Howerton. That's an example of how this article could be mentioning names really up there for the role, but maybe none of them end up getting cast, and the real people that get the jobs, we just don't know yet. Another small thing to mention here, a lot of people are super analyzing the little mermaid emoji he attached here, thinking it's a hint to Aquaman being part of the movie or something else, when I'm like, did people forget that was like an inside joke in Peacemaker? I don't think it's anything to speculate heavy about. If we move on to some of the top choices right now that the article is mentioning for Lois Lane, a very vital character and also important, the kind of chemistry that they'll have with Superman. The article mentions a couple of names like Emma McKay, Rachel Brosnahan, Phoebe Denver, and Samara Weaving. Oh, if you know me in this channel, you know my top pick is going to be Samara Weaving. In fact, she's already had some screen time with the currently reported top choice to play Superman, David Cornsweet. One I didn't see, so I can't really comment if it's good or not, but they already have a little history of working together, and I love Samara Weaving. To see her as Lois Lane, I would love that choice. But I've seen a lot of fans also campaign for Emma McKay. There's a lot of people thinking she would be perfect to play Lois Lane, and I think any one of these ladies could definitely pull it off here. And again, it'll just come down to the chemistry and how they work together with the other actors. So that seemed kind of cool and dandy, hearing some names, get an idea, visioning in your mind what Superman Legacy could look like, and then the article ended with a really interesting statement. Let me read it to you guys. And while the roles being chased by many of the town's up-and-comers include the trio of classic characters, sources say the movie will be populated by many faces as it will seek to introduce DC heroes that are already established in the movie setting. Basically letting us know Superman Legacy is going to be featuring or teasing other DC heroes to set them up in their world. That is so exciting and interesting for a couple of reasons. One, James Gunn in the Marvel Universe, he's done great work there. I think every time James Gunn directed a movie for the MCU, it was really good. But at the same time, something that you will notice about the James Gunn directed movies in the MCU is they feel very standalone-ish. They feel not as tethered to the outside MCU. Like, yes, in Volume 3, there was connections about, the holiday special revealing that Mantis is the sister of Star-Lord, and also dealing with the aftermath of Gamora having died and one from another timeline coming into the group. But even then, the stories always felt self-contained. They never felt like they were teasing a bigger universe, another spin-off, or setting up something else. And that's almost what kind of made them feel special to me. So it's gonna be really interesting for me as a fan of James Gunn to see him make Superman Legacy, and that purposely also have teases and setups for the outside universe. Like, we had already seen him announce phase 1 of his DC universe, including, Batman, the Green Lanterns, Booster Gold, and I think a lot of the characters mentioned in phase 1 could seriously be teased, talked about, or seen in the background of Superman Legacy. And that'll be something new for us to see James Gunn work with, how he handles teasing these characters and if they take away from the main story. So I'm kind of surprised to see the article mention that we'll see many faces from the DC universe getting set up. I got a feeling there has to be a Batman inclusion in there. He's got to be teased somewhere in there. He's got his own movie being set up. But other than that, it's kind of hard for me to guess. The only other person I think would make sense in the Superman world is Supergirl. She's also set to get her own movie based off the comic book Woman of Tomorrow that also involves Krypto the Superdog, and that's a character confirmed to be in Superman Legacy, so we could already see a pre-established relationship with Superman and Supergirl as cousins. And who knows if any of these previous faces from the old universe are going to make appearances here, like, Blue Beetle, Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, or even Ezra Miller's The Flash. We really don't know at this point, so a lot of intrigue going on with Superman Legacy, and hearing the casting, these details, it's getting me excited, man. It's been so long since we as fans can get excited for a Superman movie. It's always getting excited for Spider-Man or Batman or the next team-up film. When have we ever been eating up news about a new Superman movie? Now's the time, guys. But I throw it off to you guys. You hear all these details and updates with Superman Legacy. What got you most excited? What choices do you see actually making the cut? And what do you think will be some of the surprise DC heroes that'll show up in Superman Legacy to establish them in the new world? Anything and everything, be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.